I did 41 years in a New York State prison, and I know what it's like in New York State. So I want this voice, and along with this voice comes a responsibility to be completely transparent and honest. So I'm not going to hedge. I'm not going to fudge. If I offend you, fuck you, leave the room.
Hi, boss.
Hi, P.
That's P-E-A, like the vegetable, by the way.
Which she is not, by the way. You will find out she's very sharp. I trust you should not challenge her. I promise you, don't do it. But do it if you want to.
You challenge me, you'll find out who really is the boss.
Yeah, that's the truth. I don't think I've ever won an argument with you. I don't think I've ever got my way, ever, once. Or even a debate. Sometimes I don't even win those. So I can't think of a single time. Can you?
Well, you are usually on the bullshit side of these debates. Welcome to Time, the podcast.
This is episode
Who
9.
cares anymore? Are we going to
Really?
do that forever?
I don't
Let's at
think
least
so.
do it to 10.
All right, so this is 9, right?
8.
So
9.
This is 8. This is 9.
It's 9, yeah.
Yeah. So,
right?
Yeah, so we'll do it to 10 and then
And then we'll stop.
or we could just be rebellious and just say, fuck it, stop now.
Let's
Welcome
stop
to the podcast.
Welcome to Time, the podcast. This is where we talk about all things prison, inside and inside and out. Although we don't get to the out much yet, but we're still on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, inside, no, we totally get to the out.
Well,
That's the status
little,
update.
but,
That's
yeah.
the out, man. That's the aftermath.
Yeah, the status update is the out, but I mean, it's so important that we stay inside for now, I think, because we've only begun to scratch the surface of what it really is inside.
I want to know about the law library.
Okay.
And I want to talk about Jerry the Jew, since we saw him in that Attica documentary a couple weeks ago.
Jerry Rosenberg, Jerry the Jew. Yeah, that was his name, yeah. Jailhouse lawyer, he was not a typical jailhouse lawyer because he was a lawyer before he came in, so he was a very good one too. He was shrewd. He was a criminal through and through. So he was able to, I don't want to say see both sides of the picture because it's more than that. The guy was a genius. I mean, he could just look at things and he would see things and that nobody else would see. And, I might read a brief 6-7 times and go, there's nothing here. And he'd just read it once and go, you missed this and you missed this and you missed this and you missed this. And it's like, but it's all smoke and mirrors. And his reply is, well, what the fuck do you think the law is? The law is
That's
smoke
what I was
and
just going to
mirrors.
say. You say he's
Yeah.
a genius. I just think he's a lawyer. But because he had a criminal mindset, you're saying that made him extra.
Jerry the Jew didn't lose. When he wrote a brief, man, he didn't lose. You were going back. If Jerry wrote your brief, you were going back before the judge. Now, if you fucked it up when you got there, or if you got some 18B attorney who fucked it up when you got there, then that's on you. But if Jerry took your case, wrote your brief, you were going back before the judge.
Okay, so how did you come to work in the law library?
I was working on my own case. That's how I first went down there. My attorneys had sent me a certiorari brief. I had no idea what it was, what it meant, and they said, you got to sign this right now and you got to get it back to us immediately. And it didn't seem right to me. It felt crooked. It felt dirty. It felt wrong. So I went down to the law library and I started researching certiorari. What is this? What's this about? What's it for? And it turns out it's a brief on the merits. They're just asking the courts to set aside the hyperbole and just look at the merits of the case and decide whether or not this conviction should stand. And that's what a certiorari brief is. So I was granted certiorari, but I didn't sign the papers. So it never got in front of the judges because I didn't trust them at that point, and I never signed the papers. So
Everyone who works in the law library is an inmate?
Yeah, there's a CO that's in charge of the law library, and he does the hiring and the firing of the law clerks. He hires the law clerks and all that, does the payroll and everything. But yeah, everyone who works in the law library is an inmate.
And it's a good paying program, right?
No, but it's one of the best hustles.
Why?
Well, because not everybody can do law work, and not everybody can write. you have to be a writer to do law work. You have to be able to write a brief. And it's got to catch the judge's attention, because if it doesn't get past the judge's clerk, the judge is never going to see it. So it has to be well written, and it has to be to the point, and it has to be entertaining. You have to want to read it. If it's yours dry and blah, 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 the clerk's not going to read it. The clerk's going to stamp it to the judge saying it's bullshit, and the judge is going to stamp it saying bullshit, and you lose.
Did you know who Jerry was before you met him?
No. There's names that you hear. Bill Phillips, Jerry the Jew, Mad Dog Sullivan. You hear those names. Those names back in those days, those were the names that were ringing bells, So
For legal work?
Or
for
just in
general?
Things. Yeah,
Okay.
Mad Dog Sullivan, because he was the Mad Dog, the crazy bastard, right? And then Bill Phillips, because he was the New York State detective who his partners flipped on and set him up for a murder and had him convicted of a murder that he did not commit.
Wow.
So he was a cop.
That's a true story.
That's a true story. Bill Phillips, yeah.
Did they do that because he was calling them out on some shit?
That's what he says. That's his story. But I think,
Why else would they want to get rid of him?
Yeah, I think they were all dirty, and he was, starting to flip on them or something. So, so he played the good cop. So he was in APPU and PC for a long time. But by the time I got there, they had decided that he could come out because, he was a cop, first of all. So nobody wanted him in population because he's a cop, right? He was a detective in New York City. But they had decided that he could come out because he was really good at legal work, because he knew the law. And so he was working in the law library, and he was protected by Tommy Angel, and a couple other guys decided that he was untouchable, leave him alone, he's doing legal work. And so after he'd been in population a year or two, everybody got to know him. He was actually a decent dude, and he was fine. He was good to go.
Bill Phillips. Wow, listen to this. This is from New York Magazine. A legal war began with his murder conviction in 1975. Phillips was a flamboyant cop who wore Gucci shoes and Armani suits. He rode a red MG and gulped martinis at PJ Clark's. He flew planes, and he financed that life by taking money from pimps and gamblers. He didn't get away with it. The Knapp Commission, ferreting out NYPD corruption, caught him and made him a deal. He got immunity if he helped the commission catch other cops. He obtained enough evidence for 31 indictments. Oh my God. And then after testifying, he was charged with an old murder, a pimp, and a 19-year-old prostitute shot on Christmas Eve in 1968. Phillips claimed that he was framed. So he's been in prison since. This article was written in 2007, by the way. He became a lawyer and won his release on appeal in federal court. That decision was overturned by the Supreme Court. He's been denied parole 4 times now. Parole commissioners called him a criminal of the worst kind. So the parole board, of course, didn't believe his story. To win parole, one must show remorse. That's been a bind for Phillips, who insists that he's innocent. Picture yourself, he said a few days before his parole hearing last month. Your life is depending on you admitting to something you didn't do. But this time he fessed up. I don't know what came over me to do this, Phillips told the parole board. It's just like out of my character, This is something I can never explain fully. The parole commissioners voted 2-1 for his release, which is scheduled for November 9th. He looks forward to playing golf again and kissing female lips, and eating a Big Mac, and maybe getting an agent, because there's got to be a movie in here somewhere. Wow. What a character. Jesus. I feel like you could say anything, and there's a big story behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Jerry?
The way I got to know him is I started doing legal work, and he said, "What are you doing, kid?" And I said, "I'm doing my legal work, And he said, "You want some help with that?" I said, "No, I want to learn it myself. I want to figure this out." I said, "Thanks for the offer, but I want to do this myself because the people that did it for me already fucked it up, So I want to do it myself." And he liked that, so he offered me a job as a clerk. He said, "You'd be a clerk down here with me, and you do some brief writing for me, do some things, some research that I send you to do, and that kind of stuff." He says, "And along the way, I'll teach you how to do this shit." And I said, "Okay, I'll do it. I'll take the job." So I took the job as a law clerk, and that's how I learned it. I'd make a motion. We call it making a motion to the ocean. I mean, that was one of the things that Jerry taught me to do. I'd make a motion to the court, and I'd just say a whole bunch of stuff. I just make up a whole bunch of shit that the district attorney said and the district attorney did at trial and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And it would all just be bullshit. There'd be 2 or 3 things that happened, and the rest of it would just be shit that you make up. But the point is, when you do that, what does the district attorney have to do?
Defend himself.
Right, he has to answer it. So he's going to send you everything he's got to the court saying, this guy's full of shit. This is what happened. So all the stuff that you didn't get, you're going to get by making a motion to the ocean. Because the people are going to send the whole case file to the judge, and when they do that, they have to send it to you too.
It bothers me so much that you have to do that in the first place. I mean, why aren't inmates automatically entitled to their own fucking records? That's, I guess, a different episode. But that didn't work in your own case because you never got your own documents at all.
No, it never worked. I never did it in my own case.
Because it was too touchy, or what? Too personal?
Too touchy.
And you didn't want to fuck it up.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's too... Yeah, it was too big.
Yeah. So...
And then we did, one case that's remarkable. We did lifers' rights to marry, because when we did the case, the lifers, you're civilly dead when you're in prison, so you're declared civilly dead. So lifers did not have their civil rights, so they could not get married. And so we came up with this idea that, okay, here we are in prison as lifers. We have no civil rights. We have some of our constitutional rights, but we don't have our civil rights. We do not have the right to get married. But what about our fiancés? What about the women who want to marry us? They've lost no rights. And so we put the brief together that way and wrote it and sent it to the court that way. Did it in a 440 motion, an Article 78, and then a 440 motion, and actually won the fucking case. And won lifers' rights to marry based on the fact that the women could not be told no. So the court agreed that the women who could marry anyone they want to. If they want to marry someone doing life in prison, then you can't tell them they can't because they're not in prison. And so they had to start letting lifers get married.
That's great. Did you guys do any cases against COs? Any prisoners' rights work?
No.
Besides that?
That was something that Jerry refused to do.
I was wondering, what his relationship was with COs.
Yeah, well, because in that situation, right, that's a lose-lose situation. There's plenty of groups out there that were doing that work. When guys came in with beefs against COs and stuff like that, we would sit down and we would explain to them what their options were and how to go about it and who they should contact. But we would not do those kinds of things because we couldn't win. Even if we won, we didn't win. Because they're going to come in, they're going to tear up our cells, throw out all our property, they're going to find shanks in us, they're going to find weapons, they're going to find drugs in our cells. Even if we don't have any of that, they're going to bring it in, and there it is.
Yeah, and then you're not going to be able to help anybody.
Going to be in the box. You'll stay in the box.
Yeah.
So they will get you out of there if you do that. So that's one thing that Jerry would never do.
What was Jerry's crime?
Murder. I believe he killed his wife.
Oh.
Yeah, I seem to recall that for some reason. We'll have to look it up.
Where's my phone? I want to look that up. Jerome Jerry Rosenberg, born May 23rd, 1937, so he wasn't young, was an American convicted murderer. Rosenberg was sentenced to death for his involvement in a double homicide of 2 New York City police officers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Holy shit. He died in prison, right?
Yeah, he died.
Yeah, not getting out.
Does it say when he died? Doesn't say, yeah.
Definitely, it's Wikipedia. Rosenberg went on to become the first New York State inmate to earn a law degree, so he wasn't a lawyer on the outside.
He earned it inside.
And in turn gave legal advice to several inmates, including the leaders of the Attica Prison Riot. A book was written about Rosenberg and his time in prison, which was adapted into a made-for-TV movie. Oh, look at him. He was like a 1950s pop star or something. Wow, okay. He died in 2009 at age 72. Yeah, so he took part in a robbery that was unsuccessful and resulted in the death of 2 police officers. So who knows if he actually killed them or if just shit went down, Oh my fucking God, drop it, leave it.
What?
It's so loud.
What are you talking about? It's a fucking drink.
More than 1,000 police officers were assigned to investigate the double homicide, and Rosenberg eventually turned himself in. Wow, he was given the death penalty. But throughout his sentence, he claimed to not have been guilty. So, I mean, maybe he wasn't, you know. He turned himself in, so...
I mean, it may be a case of him saying, that's bullshit, I didn't do that bullshit. And went down, turned himself in, and got the death penalty. This is America, after all.
Right? Did he ever talk about his own case?
No, that's what I'm saying. We don't do that on the inside. Remember, we and Dave talked about that. You can't know.
When you kill 2 cops, you must be like royalty on the inside, are you, or no?
I mean, no, it's no different than killing anyone else, you know.
Oh, really? Don't people hate cops?
Sure, but people hate each other too, right? So, yeah, people hate cops, but they hate each other too, right?
People are terrible.
But it's true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and back in those days, that's the height of the race shit going on in prison, you know. So everybody just hated everybody for their skin color, for the food they ate, for the cigarettes they smoked.
Shortly before his execution by electric chair was to take place, he was granted a stay of execution by Governor Nelson Rockefeller. So just 4 years after his incarceration, when he was still pretty young, he earned a law degree. He's the first inmate in all of New York State to earn a law degree. Then it talks about his work in Attica. Oh, drink your fucking drink. Drink it.
All right,
Just
thanks.
go for it.
Thanks. Thank you.
Oh my God. He was incarcerated at Attica Correctional Facility at the time of the big 1971 rebellion. In the immediate aftermath of the takeover of parts of the prison on September 9th, he was one of 2 men elected to represent C Block on the committee of men who would coordinate action by the insurgent prisoners and take leading roles in the negotiations. So Rosenberg was instrumental in articulating demands for immunity from legal and other reprisals. When the insurrection was crushed by an assault by state troopers and corrections officers, Rosenberg was shot in the knee and beaten. Wow.
He was quite the man. I mean, it's too bad. I mean, his life was so tragic. He ended a scumbag, you know. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, you know, his word was no good. He was untrustworthy. He was strung out on drugs. You know, he was the guy you didn't want to know but on top of that, I mean, or next to that, you have to look at the fact that he spent his life in a cage, you know. Whether he was innocent or guilty, prison made him what he is, or what he was.
I know of 2 people who paid him a lot of money, and he ran off and never did the work.
That was the end of his life, yeah.
That was the end, yeah.
Yeah, that was at the end of his... At the end, by the 90s, middle 90s, late 90s, he was no good anymore. He was strung out, heroin addict. More than once, I had to go to his cell and get the cops to open his cell so I could get people's legal work out from under his bed. People would be out in the yard going, where the fuck's the Jew? He's supposed to be doing my legal work, you know, looking to stab him, you know, looking to kill him. And I remember one time I went to a cell, there was puke every place. He's passed out on the bed, and they can't wake him up. He's, you know, high and passed out, and I have to get legal work out from under his bed. And it's not just a box and there's the guy's legal work. It's the whole bed's got 4 or 5 boxes under it, and there's 200 fucking guys' legal work. You know, so I'm going through there trying to find cases, trying to find a guy's legal work, you know. But,
wow, so rumor has it that he had a list of about 30 people when he went to a new facility when he left...
Auburn.
Yeah, when he left Auburn in a rush, right? He had a list of about 30 people that, I don't know, what do you call that list when, like, they can't go to the same facility as you?
Enemy list.
Enemy list.
Yeah.
And that those 30 people were people he had stolen money from.
Yeah,
right?
that sounds right. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. Because
what a life, man. That would be so hard. Ronnie DeFeo was on that list.
Yeah,
why?
Doesn't surprise me.
Why do you think? What was he doing for him? Just a brief? Just a
My guess
FPO?
would be that he owed Ronnie DeFeo money for drugs. Because Ronnie was moving drugs, so Ronnie probably gave him some drugs up front based on the fact that he was doing legal work for someone and he didn't do it and didn't pay for it. So.
Oh, because I thought it was for a case that he was doing for Ronnie.
Yeah, no, Ronnie had got lawyers. He got letters all the time from people offering to do pro bono work for him, and so he always had some attorney looking to help him do something. So he didn't have to use the law library at all.
He was a heroin addict. You knew that about Jerry from the beginning, or what?
Yeah, everybody knew it. Everybody knew it, but he wasn't strung out then. I mean, he was using a little dope, smoking a little weed. But he was responsible. He was doing his legal work. He was winning cases. He was getting it done, Plus, he had the prestige of having been in the Attica Riot. He was one of the spokesmen for the Attica Riot. So he had, carte blanche to do pretty much what he wanted to do,
Listen to this. This is crafty. In 1986, Rosenberg was resuscitated when his heart stopped beating during open heart surgery. And in 1988, he unsuccessfully argued before a judge that he had died. Therefore, it meant he served his life sentence.
He did.
He died of natural causes in June of 2009 after having served 46 years in New York State prisons, the longest of any inmate in New York State penal history. Really? You guys were both then doing legal work for other people to support your habits.
He was. I was doing. I wasn't doing legal work to support my habit because I didn't make enough money at it. Jerry did. I mean, Jerry always hit me off with some stuff anyway. Like if he got a couple of bundles or something, he'd always hit me off with a few bags because I was always doing research for him. So. But no, I wasn't doing legal work to support my habit. I was doing other things to support my habit. I had that girl bringing me in stuff at that time too. So.
She would just buy you drugs for your habit, or you'd get money to her or something?
So I would get money to her, right? So we used to do these. They used to sell these glass window panes is what they were. They were just plain old glass window panes. They were 16 by 20 inch pieces of clear glass.
Why would they sell that inside the prison?
Because we were doing paintings on them.
Only for that purpose?
That's all the only purpose they were for was glass paintings.
For an art class or personal use?
Personal, you do them in your cell. You have to, but the rule is once you finish artwork, you have to send it out. You can't keep it. So otherwise you have a cell full of shit, right? So when you finish a piece, you have to send it out. So I'd paint something on the glass. Now, a glass painting you paint in reverse, and your colors are laid in reverse because when you turn it around, it has to look right. You know what I mean? So on the back side of that is you can't see through the glass anymore because it's all paint. So what I would do is I would take $20 bills, hundreds or whatever I was giving her, put them on the glass in the back after the paint dried, put a piece of cardboard over that, and then use some masking tape to make a frame because they all had to have cardboard and a frame on them. They all went out that way. And then when she got the painting home, like she'd come on a visit and I'd tell her, hey, you got a painting out there for you when you leave, pick it up, and on her way out she'd have this slip of paper that they gave her. She'd turn in the slip of paper, they'd hand her the glass painting. She'd go home and just carefully cut the tape around the outside edge and peel the cardboard off, and there would be the money. So that's how I would get money out of it, Yeah.
All right. Do you want to? Is there anything to say for a status update?
Well, I guess so. I had my first therapy session. Remember, I had my intake last time we talked. So, I had my first therapy session last Wednesday, and I'll have my second one this Wednesday. But the first one went pretty well. We a little regression. Talked a little regression. Talked about where I was at, what I was having, the problems I was having, this debilitating fear that just shows up out of no place. We talked about that a little bit. And to my surprise, he told me that I shouldn't be too hard to fix. He said that this is not uncommon for a guy like me who's been through what I've been through. And he actually said I have the tools already to fix me. So I was happy to hear that, So he said it's not going to be an overnight process. It's not going to be as simple like snapping your finger. It's going to take work. But he's pretty sure that I can fix me. So I was happy to hear that. That's good, because I'm pretty fucking broken right now. He didn't say, I'm going to tell you what to do and you do it and you'll be better. He told me flat out. He said, that's not how I work. He said, I'm just here to help you find the tools. They're already in you. You already know what's wrong with you, and you already know. He said, you already know how to fix you. You just need me to guide you through that. He said, so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to talk. We're going to figure it out, and I'm going to guide you through fixing you. And so I appreciated that. He didn't say, I'm going to tell you what to do and you're going to do that and that's how it's going to be, right? So, because that would have been the end of it right there. If he would have done that, you know me, you've known me for a long time. I'd have told him to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
So he didn't do that, and it was, so yeah, I think I like him, yeah.
This Wednesday, you're going to actually start talking about stuff, or,
I'm not sure what it's on him, right?
Yeah.
It's up to him. So I'm not really sure. I'm going to try not to drive this car at all. I'm looking for help. I don't have the help. He says I have the tools, right? I guess I need him to open the toolbox, right? And tell me which screwdriver to use, or which socket fits this bolt that's broken, that's loose. Like I got a loose bolt, so he's going to tell me which socket to use to tighten this bolt, right? So I don't want to drive that car at all. I want him to do that. So I'm going to, whatever he says, what we talk about next Wednesday is what we talk about next Wednesday. And I'll be back here to share it with you. So we'll see.
I love that. Wow.
I'm still working, still got the job. I think I'm pretty safe there now. I got past all the stuff. I got insurance, right? Dig that. I got insurance. I guess I'm doing all right, I guess so. I got great friends who love me, and I guess I'm doing okay, but I don't feel like I'm not doing okay, but I don't feel like I've accomplished what I need to accomplish. I guess maybe everybody feels that way, right?
Maybe.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe Nancy Pelosi wakes up in the morning and wishes she was president, right? So who knows, right? So I don't feel like, I don't feel like I'm where I should be, but I don't feel like I'm a failure today either.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So it gives me hope, right? It gives me a place to march. I can see something out there, right? I can see a light. If that's a cliche, but I can see something ahead of me, you know, and it's not this dark fucking cloud that I've been staring at for all these years. I see a bright future ahead of me, and I like it. And I'm going to work to make it work for me. I'm going to work at it,
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And impressed by you. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I don't know the impressed part, but I appreciate that you're proud of me, because quite frankly, without you, P, I wouldn't be here. You've pulled me up out of the fucking sewer more than once since I've got out. And years before I got out, you're the person who made it okay for me to take that fucking suit off.
Really?
Yes.
Even while you were on the inside?
Yes. Yeah. Because I didn't want to lose my conversation with you. I didn't want to lose my phone call. So it made me...
You felt like there was a threat of losing the phone calls?
Sure, because if I zip the suit on and do something, I can't use the phone.
Oh, I see.
The phone is a privilege. So if I lose the phone privilege, then I also lose the privilege of talking to you.
I thought you were talking about maybe pissing me off too much, so that I don't. That you pissed me off all the time.
All the
We used
time,
to
yeah,
fight all the time.
all the time. I had you pissed off every day.
For a while.
Yeah, you were pissed off a lot. So,
every day,
yeah.
I fucking answered that phone call.
Funny, I'd piss you off, and the next day you'd be waiting for the phone to ring. You're a masochist, man.
Just to yell at you some more, because I wasn't finished. I wasn't finished half the time.
It wasn't finished.
Remember what you said yesterday about that? I had a whole list.
Yeah. It was good though, because we both grew from that. Because you weren't schooled on my community, right? And you thought you were. You'd been talking to these, different guys, but they weren't upper echelon guys in the system. So you weren't schooled in my community, but you learned really quick.
I feel like you're saying that there's a different level of respect I should have had toward you and your crew members, and are you saying that?
No, not a different level of respect. No, I'm saying there's different communities inside the prison, and you hadn't been in contact with my community.
True. So it didn't change anything, though.
No, it didn't change anything. I'm just saying that's why we fought so much, though.
Yeah. Because
you were communicating on a different level, and that's why we fought all the time. Because I was locked into prison. I mean, let's face it, 40 years. You met me when I had 35 in, 36? Mm-hmm. Something like that, right? So I had 30 plus years in prison already, and I was stuck there. The outside world did not exist. I didn't watch television. I read a lot of books, novels, right? But, if you read Stephen King's It 4 or 5 times, it becomes real, right? So I wasn't exactly based in reality. Your reality. My reality was totally different. My reality was a 2-acre fenced-in area, right? And that was my reality with all these vicious, predator, just the worst people on the planet and some of the very best people on the planet in this little area. So that was my community, right? And you weren't versed in the tiers in that community. I was upper echelon, and you had been talking to some of the worst, some of the perceived worst. So, you got a different perspective. So we argued all the time about that shit. And you refused to budge. You were the most hard-headed motherfucker I ever met in my life. You refused to budge. Nope, this is what I've been told by 3 guys.
No, it's not that. Most of our arguments were you saying, it's so fucking easy. Tell so-and-so on the bottom fucking tier, right?
Right.
Not a shot caller.
Right.
Not even close. Not even considered a human being in prison, right?
Yeah.
You're saying, it's so fucking easy. Tell this person that they can just do this.
And they could.
Bullshit.
They could.
Bullshit.
P.
Bullshit.
You wake up every day and you make a fucking decision.
That contradicts everything you said from the beginning. That you have to decide on day one, and if you blah, then you're going to be a target forever.
You are. You're going to be.
This, you can't just wake up and change your mind, and now suddenly I'm going to be this different person.
Oh no, you can't just wake up and say, okay, I'm going to be a stand-up guy now all of a sudden, right? Because you've ruined that, right? I understand that.
I'm talking about just going to PC.
Yeah, you can't do that.
See? Then you
you can't do that.
We just went full circle.
I know, but you can't. Yeah,
Let's fight about it again.
Once you've done
we don't have to fight about it anymore. Everyone's out of prison.
Yeah, no, we're not fighting anymore. Our fighting days are behind us. I said that with a straight face. Why'd you laugh? Our fighting days are never.
You looked at me and your eyeballs got so huge.
Our fighting days are
your
never.
Eyebrows raised and your eyes bulged out.
We're never going to be finished with the debate. You know that. I'm glad that we still hash things out. That we don't just, all right. Prison's over. La-di-da. Life is great, but life isn't great. But life is way better than it was 3 months ago.
All right, let's sign off.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in.
Hope you enjoyed Jerry the Jew. If you have questions, send us more questions. We do have questions we're going to answer.
Please download and like and review. And only if you like it, though. Don't review us if you don't like us.
Yeah, we don't want to hear your bullshit. But if you like us, tell us all about it, man. Our egos could use it. Okay, goodbye. Thank you. See you next week.
Ladies and gents. That's the longest sentence in history. You're almost that.
Unfortunately, you're right.
Jesus, 2 more boards.
Yep, that's right.
You'd have your own Wikipedia page.
Oh my God, I'm glad I don't have a Wikipedia page. I'd rather have a Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fucking thing. Milo was like, oh my God, the whole neighborhood. We're waking up the whole neighborhood.
It's pretty good shit, man.